Hello again. It's PDL Season 4, Week 7, and we're taking on the Zurich Zeraoras, coached by Ninja Meerkat. They have Cresselia, Glastrier, Halifax, Impidimp, Cantonian Tauros, Snover, Glimet, Armarouge, Hisuian Gudra, Univan Samurott, and Jigglypuff. Ninja is an opponent that I've played a couple times before, and I have never yet beaten him. So we should be in for a tough matchup this week. But let's dive into this team for a second. So obviously the thing that jumps out first and foremost on Ninja Meerkat's team is Trick Room. Cresselia is one of the best Trick Room setters in the format, being extremely bulky, being able to remove its weaknesses or change them on the fly with terastallization. Obviously it can go Terra Electric with Levitate for functionally no weaknesses, or it can do something like Fairy or Dark to turn its existing weaknesses into resistances. It gets other good support moves like Lunar Blessing, like Ally Switch, unfortunately. It can go somewhat offensive. It gets Calm Mind, and has the bulk to set up, and has a pretty good special move pool. And it can also do like Icy Wind stuff. You wouldn't run that in a Trick Room mode, but Ninja doesn't have to run Trick Room. That's just the most obvious mode with this team. So even that kind of Cresselia support could be useful to the team. Exploiting the Trick Room, we have notably Glastrier, strong physical attacker, Ice type. Armarouge, strong special attacker, Fire and Psychic type. And then Gudra as a bulky Pokemon. Between the three of them, it's very hard to cover all three in your prep. I'm really going to have to play around them carefully. They make for a good, well-rounded Trick Room mode if it brings all of them together. Armarouge, of course, is also able to set Trick Room itself. It's a more offensive Trick Room setter with a wide special move pool. Ninja Meerkat doesn't have Psychic Surge on this team, but could maybe still do an Armarouge and Indeedee-like thing where they bring Armarouge and Cresselia with both having Trick Room, so it's hard to deny both of them from setting it up. We'll see. But Armarouge has a variety of Terra types it can run. It has Psychic Stab, Fire Stab, Aura Sphere stuff, Energy Ball stuff. There's just a lot that this Pokemon can do, and that's not even mentioning the weak armor weakness policy options, where it suddenly goes very fast and hits very hard when I might be expecting Trick Room, given that this is a closed team sheet league. Gudra is able to buff its defenses, survive a long time next to something like Lunar Blessing Cresselia, and grind out a win against a team that isn't prepared for that kind of bulk. And then Glastrier is one of the slowest and strongest Trick Room attackers in the game. And of course can buff its attack with Chilling Neigh. Plus it gets the Ice type Snow defense buff from playing next to Snover. Snover... this is not my first take on this video, and I was having trouble finding what else Snover can do when I was going through it. There's not a lot. It does have some support options, but as I'm doing this second take, actually Ice Shard into a weakness policy something could be interesting from Snover. So you could do like Terra Grass Armarouge with the weak armor weakness policy stuff, or even some kind of weakness policy Holucha set. So that's something I'll have to watch out for in addition to the snow buffing Glastrier. Holucha is very interesting on this team because it sort of single-handedly gives Ninja an option for a very fast mode to complement the Trick Room possibility. So an opponent can show up for Trick Room, but they're not ready for fast offense. Holucha is naturally faster than anything on my team, as is Tauros. And, of course, it gets Unburdened, so if they have some interesting way to activate that, then there's just no keeping up with this thing. I thought that maybe Impidimp would be able to use Prankster Psychic Terrain to set up Armarouge's Expanding Force and also activate a Psychic Seed on Holucha, but it turns out Impidimp doesn't get Psychic Terrain. The only terrain move it gets is Misty Terrain, but that's still an option for them. Speaking of which, Impidimp doesn't nearly have the stats of Grimmsnarl, but it does have a decent amount of the same supporting move pool. It has Fake Out, Screens, Parting Shot, Thunder Wave, Trick. It doesn't have all the tools that Grimmsnarl has, but it has enough of them that it has to be taken seriously. And then, is there anything I haven't covered yet? Tauros is a strong Pokemon. I don't really see an anger point tech on this team, but it'll be pretty cool if they bring one. But just, this stat spread and Intimidate makes it a solid threat in a fast mode, or it could go bulky. Glimat could set up Toxic Spikes. It doesn't get Mortal Spin, but it does. It can poison the team in a variety of other ways. Zeraoras is just a strong water type, able to hit hard on either side of the spectrum, and with some setup options. And then Jigglypuff can do disruptive support with things like Disable, Sing, Perish Song. So basically, zooming out, it's primarily a Trick Room team, and it's a very scary Trick Room team with a variety of threats. There's a lot of interesting little baby support pieces to support them, with Prankster, with Snow, with potentially Perish Song or Toxic Spikes. And then it also has some tricky ways to do fast hyper offense stuff with potential weakness policy, weak armor, Armarouge, Unburden, Hawlucha, or just, I don't know, a Scarf Tauros or something. So going into this matchup, obviously I have to be alert to everything my opponent can throw at me, but the most obvious thing to watch out for is Trick Room. And I tried to bring multiple ways to prevent them from setting that Trick Room up. One of those is a combo that I've talked about ever since I picked these Pokemon up, but not actually brought yet, and that's Gravity Sandy Shocks with Hypnosis Espathra. I partly just want to try it out here, but also Ninja Meerkat's team is very slow, apart from Hawlucha and Tauros, and with Booster Energy and Speed Boost, even Tauros is most likely not a problem speed-wise. It's probably just Hawlucha. So Hypnosis and Gravity can potentially be very strong here. And then, of course, in addition to that combo, I have Lumina Crash with strong special attacks on Sandy Shocks to try to open up their team. Because I was running Gravity on Sandy Shocks, I didn't run a coverage move like Ice Terra Blast or something. There's not a lot on their team. I don't think there's anything on their team that is comfortable taking both of these, except a random Terra Grass something. I guess there's Snover, but these have good enough coverage, I think, especially with the buff from Lumina Crash. I thought about running Dazzling Gleam, but I don't have much offensive investment on Espathra, and it doesn't really feel necessary in this matchup. So Ally Switch instead can just cheese a little bit more longevity on Sandy Shocks or set up opportunities for Urshifu. But I still have Terra Fairy to turn off the Psychic type's weaknesses because I could see them throwing some kind of dark coverage at me. And that's pretty much it for these two. Urshifu is running... Let's look at Quillfish first, actually. So Quillfish, I brought the Shuka Berry because Quillfish is a relatively likely switch-in into something like Glastrier or Hawlucha. And with Hawlucha, I'm not that worried about the attacks that it's likely to be throwing at Quillfish, but Glastrier obviously does get ground coverage, which I can use on a switch-in. And it's hard. I've talked before, I think, about how when I run bulky modes with this team, it's hard to figure out how best to distribute the defensive items because there are only so many good ones. I originally gave Quillfish the Citrus Berry, and then I put that somewhere else, and the leftovers were spoken for. So, and I'm not running Assault Vest with Taunt, so the Shuka Berry is very situational, but I figure it's a reasonable play here. It can also stop a ground attack from Tauros, right? Intimidate is good for nerfing a number of their physical attackers: Glastrier, Hawlucha, Tauros, potentially Samurott, even potentially Gudra. And I wanted to bring a grounded poison type because I have two of those, and it makes me significantly less worried about Toxic Spikes from Glimet. So Quillfish is able to just switch in on a decent amount of their team and give me a little bit of momentum. Liquidation and Poison Jab is decent coverage into this team. Taunt is another way to potentially shut down a Trick Room setter. I thought about running Toxic to wear down Cresselia and a Terastallized Hisui and Gudra, but I decided not to do that for a few reasons. One was that it doesn't work on Gudra unless that Terastallizes. But the other is since I'm potentially spamming Sleep with this team, I'm a little bit hesitant to double up on status conditions and game plans built around those. But also, I wanted to have a lot of ways to deny Trick Room. I needed to fit Taunt somewhere on this team, or at least I felt like I should. And so the move slot went to Taunt instead of Toxic. Now, between Sandy Shocks and Quillfish, you might have noticed that I'm kind of on the Terra Psychic bandwagon this week. I think it makes more sense for Quillfish than it does for Sandy Shocks. And originally I had Terra Electric on Sandy Shocks for the damage boost, but on paper I like Terra Psychic Quillfish here because apart from the ground coverage that I've talked about, which is probably coming from an intimidated Pokemon anyway, Quillfish primarily has to worry before Terastallization about taking Psychic attacks from Armarouge or Cresselia. Terra Psychic turns its Psychic weakness into a resistance without really opening up any other obvious weaknesses for Ninja to target. So if I went Terra Dark, for example, then Quillfish is significantly threatened by Hawlucha. But yeah, Terra Psychic just seemed like a decent neutral type into a lot of the obvious moves coming out of this team, while very nicely dealing with the Psychic weakness. I'd probably only use it situationally, but the option is there. And similarly with Sandy Shocks, yeah, I basically just had the same thought. It's a decent neutral type into a lot of what they have, and it resists some of the most likely attacks to be thrown around in this matchup. Now we come to Urshifu. Urshifu, on the other hand, is running Terra Poison because Urshifu always has to worry about Fairy-type attacks, but also, in this case, fighting and flying attacks from Hawlucha, which of course outspeeds Urshifu, are significant threats. So Terra Poison gives it Fairy resistance and also a fighting resistance, and it also gives me another grounded Poison type if I Terastallize Urshifu. So I have another thing besides Quillfish that I can switch in to get rid of Toxic Spikes. I knew that I wanted Wicked Blow. I knew that I wanted a bulky set. I might as well take advantage of Urshifu being naturally faster than most of their team. Again, I think all but Hawlucha and Tauros. And against something like Goodra, if it tries to set up, it could be a slower, grindier game, so I don't want to be throwing off close combats and nerfing my own defenses. So Wicked Blow here is paired with Drain Punch for the fighting coverage, and then I really wanted to fit Taunt on here. I liked the idea of double Taunt with Quillfish in case I face double Trick Room setters, but I felt like Urshifu was just kind of... I felt like the set was kind of caught in no man's land that way. Like, if I'm running Drain Punch and I'm not running Setup, I don't know that I'm really being efficient with the role that I've chosen for this Pokemon. So the last decision that I made in the builder actually was dropping Taunt on Urshifu and changing it to Bulk Up. Possibly with Espathra or even Quillfish being able to open setup opportunities for it, hopefully. And then I didn't feel super strongly about the item. The Focus Sash was already spoken for, so I went with Clear Amulet to stop Intimidate from Tauros. Finally, well, actually we have two Pokemon left. One is Uxie. So Uxie, again, is running Terra Fairy, because I'm most worried about them throwing dark attacks at it, not so worried about stopping psychic type attacks or something like that. It's just, you know, Terra Fairy just complements base type of psychic well defensively. I don't need to explain that. It has the Citrus Berry because leftovers were taken. And of course, Uxie wants to stay on the field for a long time. Trick Room and Prison is my third way to deny Trick Room. So if they have a Mental Herb and they have ways to stop this, then I still have something for that, and then just your basic Mystical Power and Protect from there, nothing too fancy. And then finally, I brought Orthworm. Orthworm was the last Pokemon I chose for this team. I actually really thought about bringing Floette, because I haven't brought Floette yet, and it's not that bad in this matchup for what it is. But I was a lot more comfortable with Orthworm here, because they have strong physical attackers in well, I feel like I keep listing them: Glastrier, Hawlucha, Tauros, very serious physical threats. And then of course Goodra can try to set up and hit me on the physical side. So I felt more comfortable having a little bit more defensive backbone in Iron Defense Orthworm. If I get that set up, then something like Armarouge is still a threat, but it's a lot harder for certain other parts of their team to break through. Heavy Slam and Body Press are the usual coverage options. Of course, Body Press buffed by Iron Defense, but not good into some of their team. Resisted, resisted, resisted. But Heavy Slam can hit these Pokemon hard for the most part. Terra Fire to shut off the fire weakness, maybe give it a fighting chance against something like Armarouge. Pretty standard on Orthworm. And then I didn't try to do any Shed Tail stuff this week. With leftovers and bulky setup, I wanted Protect to swindle some recovery turns here and there, and I didn't have a plan for Shed Tail, so I just don't think there's any need for it here. I think Orthworm's role, if I bring it, is just set up in front of the physical attackers and tank its way through. I think that there's no need to try to make it do more than that here. So that's the team. As I mentioned last time, it's a double week, so we have 2 weeks to play this set, but I think we probably will be playing in the first of those 2 weeks. I'll know for sure when it's time to record the battle, and I guess I'll see you then. We're back. Man, it's been more than a week since I recorded the first part of this. I don't think I remember what my team does. It's Friday evening. I'm in Toronto for the regional tomorrow, but all the more reason to hurry up and get this done so I can finish building my team for that. And my trainer's wrong. What else is new? Anyway, okay, got Cresselia, Armarouge, Glastrier, Hisuian Gudra, Snover, and Hawlucha. So there's probably Trick Room stuff. There could be weakness policy stuff with Hawlucha. There could even be weakness policy stuff with Armarouge with like Terra Grass or something. I got Bulk, Healing. I'm just waving my mouse around at this point. What did I bring to this? Bulk up Urshifu. Intimidate Quillfish with Taunt. This is Protect. Excuse me, this is Trick Room Imprison. This is just, it's no Shed Tail, right? Just support stuff. And then these guys, I believe I did bring Gravity Hypnosis this time. Okay, alright, I'm caught up. I'm just gonna lead Gravity Hypnosis. It's a thing, right? I'll do this guy, and Iron Defense Orthworm isn't bad into some of what they've got here. Yuxi's bulky, but it doesn't really do much for support. It can sit next to Urshifu, and it can try to set up Mystical Power. But into some of these bulky threats, that's a really slow game plan that doesn't fit with the rest of what I'm bringing. So I'm going to bring Orthworm. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Cresselia. I don't know what this Hawlucha is going to do. I brought Ally Switch on a Espathra. That's interesting. Is it fun, if anyone's watching this, is it fun finding out, you know what my team is because I just showed it to you, but watching me find out again what it is in real time. Sandy Shocks should be faster, right? Oh, it's way faster. It's still faster after a speed boost. That's an interesting choice by past me. Am I recording? Good. Okay. Okay. I mean, this is potentially faster than this. I'm just going to Protect, and I'm actually just going to... Okay, yeah, I'm just going to double Protect. And then Sandy Shocks being faster makes sense, because I can Gravity Hypnosis next turn. Although maybe the Hawlucha pulls out something crazy with Unburden or something right now. I don't know. Gonna double Protect. It just goes for Swords Dance. And Trick Room, okay. Yeah, that wasn't my best play ever. Well, I have the Focus Sash on Espathra. This guy is Terra Psychic. Given that Sandy Shocks resist flying, they probably don't. They probably go for a fighting type attack into it. So honestly, Terra Psychic is not the worst thing here. They could Ally Switch with Cress, and but I could still get off big damage into Cress. I think so. If they, I don't know what Cress is going to do. If Hawlucha attacks Espathra, Espathra can live with the Focus Sash. If it attacks Sandy Shocks, maybe I can get bailed out by Terra Psychic. So I'm going to Lumina Crash and Thunderbolt Hawlucha. Double protected last turn already, so I don't really like protecting here. As much as it would be nice to stall out some Trick Room, maybe I can do that later. Shadow Ball goes off into a Spathra. Close combat into Sandy Shocks. Hey, got that right. It's a white herb Hawlucha, so it is meant to go fast. But obviously they had other game plans for it. Anyway, we get rid of the Hawlucha. 3 Trick Room turns left. Kind of a scuffed game already. Glastrier comes in, and I'm just going to double protect and kill a Trick Room turn. And that'll give me time to figure out what on earth I'm doing about this. If I had Quillfish, I could intimidate it, but of course I didn't bring Quillfish to this game. Let me see if I can remember why I have Psychic, Terra Psychic, Sandy Shocks. I know I was on Terra Psychic for something this week. It was to resist Armarouge's expanding force without becoming weak to the fighting coverage, right? Or the ground coverage that can come out from something like Glastrier. Okay, they went for... I didn't know that Glastrier got Crunch, but okay, they went for that into a Spathra. And Shadow Ball into Sandy Shocks. Do I have an ally switch play here? You know what I'm gonna... you know what? I kind of want to switch both of my guys out. Urshifu will take either one of these hits if they go for the same types of moves again. Orthworm is bulky. They went for the Crunch into a Spathra, so I'm going to switch a Spathra out for Orthworm, and I'm going to switch Sandy Shocks out for Urshifu, and then if my guys live, I can get rid of that last Trick Room turn, right? Okay, easy. Oh, well. Tried to read that possibility, I guess. Actually, Orthworm is already slow and bulky. The Glastrier could have close combat. Yeah, I'm going to double protect. Let's see if the Glastrier has close combat. I wouldn't mind getting off an Iron Defense right now, but it's better if I can do it before Glastrier attacks, right? Not after, so... And here we can scout what they do. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that this isn't a pretty scuffed situation here, but that's part of the fun of a Discord draft league, I guess. You just got to slot it in with the rest of your life, and what happens, happens. You're really thinking this turn. Get our double protect off. And... Okay, Stomping Tantrum is not close combat. That is a different move. Let's get that Iron Defense. And then this can Moonblast. And I've already used my Terra. They could have Armarouge. If they have Armarouge in the back, we could have a problem. I'm going to Wicked Blow the Crest. We're going to see what it... I don't know what's going to happen. Terra Fairy. Okay. I suppose that was kind of the obvious thing to happen. I could be in trouble if they brought Armarouge. Although I can detect here and... I'm going to go for another Iron Defense. The reason is, I know in Gen 8, Glastrier sometimes ran Weakness Policy. I don't really want to set it up for it if I can avoid that. And I'm going to detect just to stall a little bit. It does have close combat. Okay. I wonder what their plan was the last turn then. Okay, I feel like I kind of want to go to +6, but I am a little worried at this point about playing too passively. What is my least valuable Pokemon right now? If they have Armarouge in the back, that's the possibility that scares me the most. And given that they've already used their Terra, I think my best answer to that is Sandy Shocks, right? So that makes it Spathra the least valuable player at this point. I think I am going to go for +6, and I'm going to switch to a Spathra. And, okay. I didn't even really think about what they would do into a Spathra, but I just thought I'd sack it there. But that's good. That gives us more time to stall out the Trick Room. With 2 turns left, I can try to get rid of Cresselia here, and then double protect on the last turn of Trick Room. So... Oh. Well, except I don't really have a way to delete Cresselia, do I? It's Body Press and not Heavy Slam that gets boosted. Okay. I'm gonna try to delete Glastrier, and I'll just throw off a Hypnosis into Crest in case it happens to land. They do have Armarouge in the back. That did a fair bit. Well, not after the Lunar Blessing. The Hypnosis works out. 1 turn of Trick Room left. Double protect. Wait. I kind of want to switch here. I'm just gonna, cause like, both of these guys threaten this. I'm gonna switch to Sandy Shocks to try to get more initiative once the Trick Room is gone. If they knock Sandy Shocks, I don't think they will knock Sandy Shocks out, but if they do, then I just get her Shifu in. Okay, they did target Sandy Shocks. I guess they probably saw the protect coming. That's alright. This would be a good time for them to boom me with Ally Switch, but of course the Crest could stay asleep. I'm just gonna Body Press and Wicked Blow the Armarouge slot. Leave myself in the hands of RNG. If they have Ally Switch. Wait, how many? Oh, they've shown all their moves. They don't have Ally Switch. Okay, good. Okay. Well, Glastier's gone. They do have a chance to get Trick Room back up here. And it does work out for them. Alright, it happens. I am actually... What am I going to do here? I'm going to double protect. Maybe the stalling will help me somehow. They protect Armarouge. The other option I was considering was to double target that, so just as well. Now I'm going to attack Armarouge, and if they're Moonblasting into Urshifu, well, what else can I really do? I'm just going to double target Armarouge. I don't know how this Cresselia is trained. Maybe it's possible to survive a Moonblast. That seems unlikely to me, but... Or maybe they do something different, because I've seen what they tried to do the first time. But I can still lose to this Armarouge, so... Getting rid of that would be very nice right now. And thinking ahead to game 2... I've had to stall around their Trick Room a lot here. Oh! Interesting. Okay. I can still lose to the Armarouge. I can definitely still lose to the Armarouge. Double protect again. What was I saying? Oh, I was making the case for bringing Yuxi in game 2. Because they don't... I mean, they do have Crunch on Glastrier. I feel like I should be able to play around that, but... That aside... Okay, we lost game 1. Yeah, Trick Room and Prison should be strong into this. If I play around the Glastrier correctly. That game felt good until the Armarouge pulled it away, but I guess that's what they were building for. Do I have Aqua Jet on Quillfish? I don't. Okay. That's alright. I think I bring Yuxi this game. But I bring Yuxi instead of what? I want her Shifu. Do I want Orthworm? Do I want Quillfish? I'm gonna do... What am I gonna do? I'm gonna lead Yuxi. And with Yuxi, we bring... Shifu? Candy Shocks. I'm just kind of worried about this. I'm gonna bring her Yuxi, Sandy Shocks, or Shifu. And... Orthworm was good last game, and if I could have parried it... Bullfish, Orthworm, Espathra, Bullfish, Orthworm. Bring a Quillfish. Terra Psychic Quillfish is probably the best thing I have for the Armorers. They brought Snover this game. They brought Snover. Prison. No thought, just to prison. Snover resists both of my guys' attacks. Also might want to tear this, though. But not if... I'm afraid of Armor Rouge. I'm gonna Thunderbolt the Snover. Maybe they make an aggressive switch into Holucha or something. Substitute? What is this doing? Well, it's gonna eat a mystical power. It's doing that. Unless they... No, they don't have Ally Switch. We know this already. Okay. Thunderbolt doesn't break the sub. We can live with that. Blizzard. Probably should have figured that one out. Don't love the idea of getting frozen. But I'm just gonna attack. Paralyzed it. +2 on Yuxi. Shadow Ball, Blizzard. Yuxi's below half. Now it isn't, but there goes its only recovery. Is Urshifu strong here? Gonna have to be. Urshifu is gonna have to be strong here. I mean, nothing wants to take a mystical power. I mean, Armor Rouge resists, and so does Gudra, but I don't think anything wants to take a +2 mystical power. They can Terror the Cress. They can Terror the Cress, and if they Terror the Cress... I'm just gonna... You know what? I'm gonna try to set up Urshifu. I don't know what else it's doing here. Maybe I'm playing this clumsily. Okay. Okay, of course I don't have a poison attack. This cannot Terra, cannot protect, +1 attack, add a mystical power just for good measure. Nobody wants to take this Wicked Blow. And if they do, the one thing that maybe kind of doesn't want to take the mystical power. No, nobody's taking that. Well, okay, it was a... It's always a crit. Yeah, nobody's taking that. Okay. Now we got the Glastrier. I forgot to worry about weakness policy Glastrier, but it doesn't matter. It just dropped that +1 Drain Punch. Okay, we take game 2. I don't know what they're going to do to adjust for this mode, but obviously Yuxi was very strong here. Is this my first set all season that's gone 3 games? I think it might be. Yuxi. This wasn't that great. This is strong. This. And Quillfish? Forthorn? Sandy Shocks? Maybe Sandy Shocks. Try to if the Yuxi stuff doesn't work, then we try to just boom them with offense, I guess. Okay, they lead these guys. Makes sense. This is buffed. Well, not in a way that's relevant to these two, but you know. I don't know what they're going to try to do, and I'm going to double protect just to see. Substitute. Okay, probably remembered the substitute Snover. I'm gonna. If I Terra Yuxi, I can't Terra or Shifu. That was fine last game. I didn't end up needing to. I think I Terra. I think I want to keep Yuxi on the field, basically as long as I can, right? Lumina Crash into Mystical Power. Pretty strong. Well, okay, that's not that strong. But, like, the damage is going to stack over time. Crunch doesn't do much. I do have to be mindful of Yuxi's HP. I'm also inviting a freeze playing like this, but the Snover is just the less threatening Pokemon overall. If we get... Oh, man. If we get frozen, we... I guess it's a skill issue, huh? Does the Glastrier take another Lumina Crash? If I had landed either Mystical Power, I wouldn't have to be worried about that right now. I am going to protect Yuxi, Lumina Crash, Glastrier. If I miss a chance to break Snover's sub off of this, so be it. If we hadn't missed Mystical Power twice, Yuxi would be in much better shape here. Yeah, that doesn't KO. That does. Okay. Sorry about the bell. I'm gonna go for a... what am I gonna do? I'm gonna try to finish this off. And set up. I can't Terra the Urshifu, so it kind of just loses to Cresselia. I don't know if they brought Cresselia. Yuxi finally gets to +1. Any freeze? No freeze. We've both been kind of unlucky this game, huh? There's the Armarouge. It can Terra. The Armarouge can still Terra. I'm going to Imprison in case it has Trick Room. I'm going to Wicked Blow. Didn't take a +1 Wicked Blow last time, but obviously it can Terra. Terra Fairy. Terra Blast. Went right for it. Makes sense. Lands the Blizzard and gets the Freeze. Oh, man. And this guy's weak to Blizzard. I'm kind of wishing I had Quillfish right now, honestly. Just going to try to Mystical Power this, and Thunderbolt this, so they can't switch to an immunity. There's the Cress. Frozen, frozen. They keep landing every Blizzard. And that's it. That's, what's that record then? 2-5. Well, that's the game, folks. And I actually think that's probably the season, too. Quick little programming note. I know I've been saying 8-week season all this time. But I actually think my one remaining opponent has quit the league. And if I'm correct about that, then it'll be scored as a win by forfeit. So, final record 3-5. Definitely will not be making the playoffs. Definitely the worst season I've had in this league. And I don't know what I'll do in my next draft, but probably something more traditional than I did this time. But, you know, I still kind of liked this team, despite the performance. And I still have a couple of content ideas for the rest of this season, so we're not quite done with Season 4 yet, but this is probably the last game that I've played this season. And I actually have to run off now. It is, like I said, the night before a regional, and I have to eat and finish building my team, so that's it for now. See you next time, for whatever next time will be.